call to order Planning Commission meeting for, what is today? It's June 7th, 2018. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Marcelo, you want to lead us? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I literally forget the words.
I've been there before. Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Hamel? Here. Commissioner Padilla? Absent. Commissioner Sakia?
Here.
Vice Chair Heedy is absent. And Chair Dunstan?
Here. Okay. I think I'm on the wrong, that's what my problem is. Okay. Do we have any reordering of the agenda?
Not from staff.
Not from staff. Looks like we're good here. Perfect. Any presentations? None. Can we get approval of the minutes from the regular Planning Commission meeting from April 19th, 2018?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And the vote?
Take a voice vote on that.
Just all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public comments? No. Okay. Consent calendar, none. Continued public hearings, none. New public hearings, and here we go. Resolution number 18-04, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Buellton, California, recommending City Council approval of an ordinance repealing Municipal Code Chapter 9.08 and adding Municipal Code Chapter 19.20 regarding commercial cannabis activities and cannabis cultivation and making findings in support thereof. And I believe, Mark, you're going to walk us through this one.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, in 2008, the City Council approved Municipal Code Chapter 9.08, which prohibited medical marijuana dispensaries in the city. Since then, California's cannabis laws have undergone significant changes, including the establishment through Proposition 64 of a comprehensive regulatory scheme for adult use of recreational commercial cannabis businesses. At its April 12th meeting, the City Council directed staff to prepare an ordinance amending the municipal code to prohibit all commercial cannabis facilities and to regulate cannabis cultivation. Pursuant to that direction, the proposed ordinance would broaden the city's existing cannabis regulations to prohibit all types of commercial cannabis businesses recognized under state law. The proposed ordinance would also impose regulations on cannabis deliveries and private cannabis cultivation in accordance with state law and City Council direction. And let me be clear, this has nothing to do with the person's private use of marijuana for either recreational or medicinal purposes. That's covered by state law and is not subject to our ordinance. This is basically a storefront ordinance similar to what we have for tobacco and head shops, which we also prohibit. The council feels we're too small of a town to have storefronts such as this, but the public can freely use the marijuana as part of the state laws that allow it. The only private restriction would be the state law requires you can only have 6 plants, so that's included with this. And as far as deliveries, the delivery business cannot be based in Buellton, but somebody from outside the city could come and deliver to a resident in the city, and that would not be restricted by our proposed ordinance wording. So Solvang prohibits it, as does Santa Maria. Santa Barbara regulates it and allows it. Goleta is moving forward to doing it. Lompoc allows it. And Carpinteria, I think, is going to prohibit it. So it's kind of arranged throughout the county, and the county is allowing it as well, and you saw that was on the ballot measures for the taxable. So we're asking the Planning Commission to consider the adoption of Resolution 1804, recommending to the City Council that they repeal one chapter and add a second chapter that talks about prohibiting commercial cannabis activities, and staff is available to answer any questions.
Thanks, Mark. Anybody have any questions for staff?
So that's 6 plants, maximum indoor grow only.
That is correct.
To be grown outside.
That is correct.
Okay.
The delivery is just as long as it's not based out of Buellton. Yep. I don't have any questions myself.
Okay.
It's pretty clear. Any public comments on that?
So open the public hearing.
Yeah, let's open a public hearing. close the public hearing. Okay, I don't think we have any questions or any concerns based on the wording. I would recommend we go ahead and move forward and present this to City Council based on how it's worded. So I would motion that we adopt the,
Resolution 1804 as worded, and
thank you, Mark. I'll get there one of these days.
I'll second.
Do you want me to go ahead and read the whole thing out, or can
no, that was fine. Your motion was as worded, and do we have a second? So,
I think, yeah, Commissioner Marcy.
Okay, so do this on a roll call vote. Commissioner Hamel?
Aye.
Commissioner Sakia?
Aye.
And Chair Dunstan?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Let's move on to the next agenda item, other business. So this is preliminary review of the Cambria Hotel and Suites / Boutique Hotel Project, 18-FDP02 and TPM 31062. And Andrea is going to walk us through.
All right. Good evening, Chair Dunstan, Commissioners. This is the preliminary review of the Cambria Hotel and Suites and Boutique Hotel Project. Wait a minute for it to come up here on the screen.
Okay.
There we go.
That's better.
Here, actual review. They have multiple copies of that?
Oh, they didn't.
Oh, okay. That's all right. I got it on email.
I'll share it with you.
If you don't mind. Thank you so much.
So the project site is within the village-specific plan. So the vicinity map on the left-hand side shows the boundaries of the village-specific plan site, and then I included the map on the right-hand side to show how the lot is split up for the different uses within the village-specific plan. And you can see here on the cursor. So we have Highway 246 and McMurray Road here, and the hotel site is located along McMurray Road, tucked in between McMurray Road and the new Valley Vineyard Circle. So the project is for a final development plan and a tentative parcel map, and the property is zoned General Commercial Specific Plan with a site size of approximately 4.03 acres. And again, it's the proposed project is located on one of the sites of the village-specific plan, specifically slated to have a hotel development there. So to go into a little more detail, the final development plan is for the construction of 2 4-story hotels, one being a more branded hotel that they're calling at this point the Cambria Hotel and Suites, and that is located on the northern portion of the hotel site and contains 107 rooms. The Boutique Hotel is the second hotel, also 4 stories, located on the southern portion of the site, also containing 107 rooms for a total of 214 hotel rooms. In addition to the 2 hotels, there is also a 3,200 square foot meeting room building, a separate building that's located on the Boutique Hotel site, but it is the intention to allow use by both hotels to use that space. So in addition to the buildings on site, there's an event lawn, some open space, including a bocce court, and each hotel has its own pool, and a total of 222 parking spaces. The tentative map is to divide currently it's one parcel. However, they're going to be operating 2 separate hotels in a sense. So they want to divide the existing one lot into 2 of approximately equal sizes. So you see there, parcel A would be the Cambria Hotel, 1.93 acres, and parcel B would be the Boutique Hotel, 2.1 acres. So the architecture is consistent with the contemporary ranch design style, which is consistent with a lot of the other projects located within the village-specific plan area. Access, we'll go a little bit more into the design styles. I'll go through the elevations and talk a little bit about that. But access is proposed in 2 locations currently. One access point along McMurray Road along the front, and one access point along Valley Vineyard Circle at the rear of the project site. I will also go a little bit more into detail about those access points a little later on in the presentation. So because the project is located in the village-specific plan, it of course must be consistent with any standards that are listed in that plan. So I just thought to give a little summary of how, what the hotel site would need to include and how it does do that, how the proposed project does do those things. So the proposed use, as you know, is two hotels, and the hotels do include restaurant uses and also the meeting room space. And the types of uses allowed per the specific plan are hotel and hotel support services. So these types of uses would fall under the hotel support service definition. And so the allowed uses, the proposed uses are consistent with the village-specific plan. There's a couple different requirements in terms of hotel size and square footage, and also as it relates to a combination with the Crossroads Center. So I'll just first go through the consistency with the overall square footage of the hotel site specifically. So between the two hotels combined, the total proposed floor area, square footage, is 139,200 square feet, and there are 214 rooms proposed. The specific plan allows or anticipates that the total floor area will be between 100 and 200,000 square feet and up to 225 rooms. So both of those are consistent. The project is consistent with those standards and listed in the village-specific plan. So another requirement as part of the village-specific plan is that the combined commercial square footage of, so Crossroads, and the hotel component cannot exceed 225,000 square feet. So if it's broken down, the Crossroads is approximately 55,000 square feet, and the proposed hotel is, again, 139,200 square feet, for a total of 194,200 square feet, which is well under the maximum allowed per the village-specific plan. The height, so the proposed project is 4 stories and a maximum of 64 feet, and that's really just at the highest point at one of the tower elements, which you'll see in the elevations. And the specific plan allows 3 to 4 stories and up to 64 feet in height. So again, the height component is consistent. So in addition, so it is zoned CRSP, so there are standards in the specific plan where it has to comply with those standards, but the zoning designation specifically for the hotel site is CR, so any development standards that are applicable to the CR zone are applicable to the this project site. So I thought I would just go through a couple of those to summarize how the project is consistent with those development standards listed in the municipal code as well. So there's the standard in the code is 1 parking space per hotel room and 1 space per 5 employees. And based on that calculation, 222 spaces are required and 222 spaces are provided. Landscaping, so the standard in our code is that for CR zones is that all portions of the setback area fronting streets are landscaped, and along the perimeter of the entire property line, in some places 10, in some places 15 feet of there's a landscape strip of that width. Additionally, there's a requirement in the CR zone that at least 5% of the net site area is landscaped. The plans appear to comply with this requirement. There seems to be, it seems to be at least 5%. However, that's one of the incomplete items that we will list, is to verify that and do the calculation and show us on the plans. So in terms of a loading zone, there's no loading zone shown currently on the plans. However, our code for commercial zoned properties does require 1 loading zone, so that'll be another incomplete item that we will require them to put a loading zone in there. Additionally, per the village-specific plan, it does ask that it's located away from building frontages and away from public uses, so we'll work with the applicant to find a location that will meet those requirements. And this last bullet point here, it's a moot point, but it was a little bit of a mix-up in the village-specific plan as well. But basically, the CR zone requires a 50-foot setback for minimum for any shopping center adjacent to any residential uses, and so it was listed in the hotel, under the hotel standard. However, it really doesn't apply to the hotel, and in fact, the actual standard would be 25 feet. But again, it's a moot point because the closest building to the property line is 60 feet. So either way, it's well away from the property line. So that's just a moot point. So I just included this to give you a little bit of perspective. So you see Highway 246 over there on the left and McMurray there on the bottom, and how it relates to the Crossroads Center and how it will relate, and also the Village Park that'll be going in soon. So I'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of the site with the landscape plan. I think that there's a lot more to see on that, but I just wanted to kind of give an overview of what they're proposing. So the perimeter of the property will be all of the parking, the required parking. You can see the proposed access point along McMurray Road here and along Valley Vineyard Circle here. I will point out, because I'll be discussing it a little bit further on in the presentation, there is the existing bus stop that's located right here pretty near the proposed access point along McMurray Road. So you can see here's the Cambria Hotel here to the north and the Boutique Hotel to the south. And actually I will switch over to the next. So here's the landscape plan. It shows it a little bit more clearly. So we have the, to the rear of the property, the event lawn, the bocce court. You can see each property with their pool at the rear of the site. There's a there's a water feature. You can't really see it here as clearly, but there is a water feature located in between the two hotels in the open space area, which the village specific plan does actually call for. So they did incorporate that element. Let's see, so you have the front entrances to the hotels along McMurray Road, and you can see we have the trash enclosures, one here and one here, and you can see the landscape strip along all property lines there, and also landscaping that lines the building itself. I think that's there. So I'll go through the elevation. So again, the design style is consistent with the contemporary ranch design style per our community design guidelines. You can see it's a 4-story hotel. This is the Cambria Hotel, the hotel to the north. And basically, so as I alluded to earlier, the hotel is 50 feet high in most areas. It's just the tower element that goes up to 64 feet in height. So a very small portion of the building goes to that 64 feet. You can see the different changes in materials. They've tried to sort of blend the colors with some of the other, like the Crossroads Center. Some of the colors are consistent with, and the shapes and things like that are consistent with the Crossroads Center. Different stone and board and bat siding, wood siding, stucco, just a different planes and things like that, and the large expanses of windows. And you'll see when I go to the Boutique Hotel, they tried to make them similar, but obviously they are different hotels, and so they want to differentiate them, but they tried to use similar materials and similar tower elements and things like that to at least make them look somewhat similar and compatible together. So we'll go through that. So I just included all sides of the elevation. So this is what you would see if you were walking through the two hotel buildings toward the open space area. This is the rear, so this is what you would see if you were in the open space area toward the rear of toward Valley Vineyard Circle. And this is the north elevation facing the townhomes, the property line of the townhomes. Okay, so going on to the Boutique Hotel. So you can see they use a lot of similar materials, just using different colors, maybe different quality of materials. But they do also include a tower element that is sort of responds to the tower element of the Cambria Hotel to the north. The boutique hotel, it is again generally 50 feet in height. However, the tower element goes up to 57 feet tall in this case. So this is the south elevation, so this would be what would be abutting to the Crossroads Center along Valley Vineyard Circle. And this is what you would see in the open space area at the rear. And it appears that the blue color is similar to some of the colors in the Crossroads Center, so it seems like they might have tried to tie a little bit of that material and color into the surrounding architecture. So this is the north elevation. This is what you would see walking through the two buildings. Okay, the meeting room. So the meeting room is, this kind of shows the different materials consistent with the contemporary ranch design style. And it's kind of really an accessory building to the two hotels. And so, they don't have as much articulation, which really, it's still consistent with the contemporary ranch design style, and is going to be much smaller scale than the two hotel buildings, of course. So to go through some initial comments on the project plans, the parking calculations on one of the architectural sheets need to be clarified. They have enough parking, just the way that they did the calculation didn't match up with what the requirements are. So just clarifying that on the plans. There's inconsistent scale bar on a couple of the sheets. They show two scales, so it is, I did measure it, there is a correct scale, just to eliminate confusion, just taking that off. Again, one loading space is required for each hotel, and the loading space shall meet the size requirements indicated in the Buellton Municipal Code. Floor plans are missing from the third and fourth floors for both hotels, so those will need to be provided. And this last point here, clarification is needed, and when the applicant comes up, they can talk a little bit more to this. But as to what types of events will be held in the meeting room space, they do provide the minimum amount of parking for the hotel use itself. So we just want to clarify that the types of events that are going to be held there aren't necessarily going to include all the time events from the outside other than people staying at the hotel there. So I'll let the applicant clarify what their intentions are there with how they intend to use the meeting room space, but just wanted to point that out. Okay, so the landscape plans shall indicate tree sizes, and they shall be a minimum of 24-inch box trees. Again, must indicate the 5% landscaping on-site requirement. And I put this bullet point in here. It was generally clear, but they had a couple tree type options that they listed. So just being clear on the next plan which tree types they're proposing to put where. And staff recommends the addition of oak trees. I know that on the Crossroads site they do have a few oak trees, and just to one to tie into that, and also just having oak trees is always a nice addition. So we do recommend that they do add some oak trees on the property on the landscape plan. A master sign program shall be submitted. They did indicate some signage, but we just need to have a detailed master sign program that verifies consistency between the two hotels and that they're meeting all of our sign standards for square footage and things like that. Photometric light plan is required and should include all exterior lighting. And they should show the exterior lighting on the building elevations, and these lights should be night sky friendly, LED, and be consistent with the contemporary ranch design style. So initial comments on the tentative parcel map. So the map number should be included on the map in the next round. Setbacks from the buildings to the new property lines should be shown, and I can kind of show you. I wasn't very clear on as to where those property lines were, but where the property was split. But basically, they should be clearly showing the setbacks from the building to the new property lines to make sure that there's no issues there. The parcel map will require a cross-access agreement and cross-drainage agreement, so they will be accessing the project site and leaving the project site, on both properties. So, and using some of the parking areas and the circulation of the site will involve both properties. So just making sure that there is a cross-access easement agreement and cross-drainage agreement for both properties. So this was in your staff report, but I thought I'd explain it just a little bit more with the tentative parcel map and the exception that I had put in there. So originally, the Oak Springs Village specific plan was divided into 5 different parcels. And then, of course, we've had Crossroads come in, and they've further subdivided their property into 6 different lots, and the townhomes have been subdivided into different lots. And so basically, similar to what was done for the Crossroads project, for the cumulative total, so basically up to 4 parcels splitting, it would be just a tentative parcel map. Once you exceed that, it's a tentative tract map. But in this case, the same exception that was used for the Crossroads Center we would use for the hotel site, because we're splitting, the existing lot into 2 lots, even though cumulatively it's however, much more than the 5 limit. But this particular exemption from the Subdivision Map Act allows us to require only a tentative parcel map, and that's largely because the public improvements are already in for this lot. So if the public improvements were not in, or there was something, if they needed to install more public improvements associated with the original tentative tract map that was subdivided for the village-specific plan, then it would be different. But those public improvements are in, so therefore a parcel map is only required. So some of the public works and engineering comments. This top one, I wanted to go into a little bit of detail. Basically, the access point along McMurray Road, as we know, there's already some traffic, with all the new developments going in along McMurray Road. So we are going to have our traffic consultants take a look at access along McMurray Road as part of this project, and to see if we can make that work. In addition to that, there is an existing bus stop along McMurray Road, and that bus stop will need to be relocated. It's located pretty close to the access along McMurray Road, and just don't want to have any conflicts between the bus stop and the different access points in and out. So the bus stop, if the current access point stays where it is, they either need to basically move the bus stop or move the access point so that there's some more distance between the two. Again, the parcel map will require a cross-access agreement and cross-drainage agreement, and that will be a condition of approval. We are requiring a preliminary stormwater control plan was submitted. However, it should reflect as a Tier 4 project, which will require LID, runoff treatment, prevention of off-site discharge from storm events, etc. And also just making sure that they provide a can and will serve application for each site for review. And just quickly, I'll go through the design review comments. So I didn't see anything proposed in terms of site fencing of any kind, but it was included that if they are in fact proposing any site fencing, to ensure that it's compatible with our design guidelines, and to show it on the plans, of course, if that's the case. And additionally, the trash enclosures should be consistent with the design of the proposed building architecture. And one element, the only design element that was really pointed out as relating to the architecture and the consistency with the contemporary ranch design style is this the next bullet point, which is, and I'll go back to the slide, which is the textured wood siding between the windows on the Cambria Hotel seems out of place and doesn't really appear to relate to any elements inside. So just asking the applicant to reconsider that design element or tie it in a little bit better. And then just providing details of elements specific to the project to communicate the design intent, so roof, eaves, gutters, downspouts, windows, trims, things like that. So I'll just briefly go back and show you on the elevation what the architect was talking about. So it's this strip here of the wood siding, just seemed a little bit out of place. So tie it in a little bit better or do something different with that corner. And that was really the only architectural concern. So, back here. Okay, so special studies and environmental review. So again, we'll have a traffic analysis of the access point along McMurray Road done by our traffic consultants. But in addition to that, to discuss environmental review, an EIR was prepared along with the adoption of the village-specific plan, formerly known as Oak Springs Village. And so basically, any development that is consistent with the EIR, the specific plan and the subsequent EIR, typically doesn't require any additional environmental review unless there are specific changes needed to the environmental document based on any things specific to the project that might exceed the approvals and the environmental document. So again, just to this next point, any additional environmental review would need only focus on the specific areas or topics affected by the change. And the final determination of the level of environmental review, if any, would be determined at the public hearing for the project. So the recommendation is that the Planning Commission provide direction to the applicant and staff on the proposed project plans, and I'm available for questions.
Thanks, Andrea. Commissioners, you got any questions for staff?
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
On McMurray, will there still be, if you want to maybe go to this one at the end?
That one, okay.
Will there still be street parking along the frontage?
So, I don't, and maybe Rose and Mark might be able to better answer this. I don't think that, I mean, there is currently street parking
Right.
there, but I don't think that it's actually
It's
designated.
not legal?
I don't know if it's. Yeah, I'll let Rose answer it.
So along the frontage of the hotel, there's
Yeah.
currently on-street parking.
Right.
And they're not space designated, just the areas designated with the bulb outs, the landscape bulb outs.
okay.
So with this project proposed, they've got a driveway to the property, kind of in the middle
Right.
of that section of McMurray Road. So
Right.
that section's going to lose whatever parking space through that area.
For the driveway?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And I think right now it might be taken up by, it's already, I think that's where the entirety of the bus stop is, which has red
Okay.
curbs. So in theory, you're not losing any parking space. I haven't really overlaid
Okay.
the exact locations for those.
Okay.
So there might not be a complete amount of reduced parking space for the
Sure.
street, but we're not exactly sure at this
Okay,
point. But that's
okay.
just in addition to what they've got on site.
Okay. And then, kind of on the same thing, so there's the one entry point for the hotels, which really isn't on that map. And then is the only ingress, egress for the condos and stuff, that Valley Vineyard Circle? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, I think they may have 2 points of ingress, egress, but they're all off of Valley Vineyard Circle.
Okay, okay. My only other question, and I don't know if this is for you or for the applicant, in the drawings, the plans on the boutique hotel, it shows space on the ground floor for a restaurant and bar. Is that going to be for guests only, or will that be open to the public?
I think that would probably be a question that
Okay.
could be answered by the applicant.
And that's all I have.
Just because that just came up, I'll just interject real quick. If it does become open to the public, where the bar and restaurant can be accessible to the general public, do we need more parking based on that? Because you might have additional tables and patrons coming in for that?
Right, so it would be, yeah, I mean, like we would require parking for an outside, a separate restaurant, then, it would we would need the additional parking, it would seem.
Well, I think we'd look into that,
Yeah.
because it is an
Yeah.
accessory use to the hotel,
Yeah.
just like the barn is. So
Exactly.
it's something we'd look into. It may or may not require additional parking, but until we get a full description from the
Right.
applicant, we can't
Right.
determine that.
Sure, we could chat with them on that. Okay, the opportunity comes up. Okay. Ironically enough, none of us were really on the planning commission when the village-specific plan was actually approved. And although I've been involved in a couple of other subdivision, dividing up some of the parcels, I have never really taken the time to dig in. I know you went over a number of things as part of that specific plan that are relevant to this. Are there any other factors that we need to be mindful of as we're going through this that may have impact?
In terms of,
Just this project in general?
like the lot, splitting of the lots, or just?
Well,
fire plan.
since I was, Rose and I are probably the only ones here that were with the specific plan.
Predates me
It was even
too.
before Rose.
Let's take a little background.
I worked on three amendments to the specific plan, and there were two before me. So
Okay.
there's been quite a few. This site was originally going to be just a giant big box area,
Okay.
and it kept getting shrunk down and down and down and down to what you see here.
Yeah.
But basically, Andrea gave you the standards from the specific plan that were applicable to the hotel site, and those are the main ones that apply.
Okay.
The specific plan is online if you'd like to take a look at it, or we can get you a hard copy. But we gave you the applicable sections that were associated with it.
Okay.
But we're happy to go into any other details. But pretty much, it's complying with the specific plan. The two access points that are shown were part of the specific plan in one of the appendices. The only reason we're doing a traffic study is with the traffic on McMurray Road and all the development that occurred on the village-specific plan, we just want to double-check, make sure we're not going to have any issues, and if we do, what the solutions could be for the project, since this is the last one in. But basically, they're complying with the specific plan and the development standards, and as Andrea said, the architecture, our consultant had very minimal comments on the architecture. But that's a good question. I know none of you were here at the time, but if you need a copy of it, we can get it to you, or you can look online to see the full description. But we gave you the sections that were applicable to the hotel.
Yeah, and yeah, like you mentioned, the water feature was one of the, the pieces that are there too, so it's good to follow up on that. Thank you. Okay. The only other thing that you'd mentioned was you can look at this from the TPM standpoint versus the TTM, because there is the public improvements are already in place. Can you give me an idea of what the public improvements are? Is that part, is that what this final plan, or this plan is, the public improvements, or is that part of the development?
Yeah. So I'll let Rose speak to that one as
So
well.
when we talk about public improvements, we're talking about the widening of McMurray Road,
Okay.
the creation and construction of Valley Vineyard Circle, the extension of the water mains, sewer lines, and
Got it.
all that. All that is already in place. So as far as this particular project, it's just that development, so they'll have to do their own sewer lateral tie-ins and water tie-ins and storm drain, that kind of infrastructure. But and they'll be putting in sidewalk because that's their frontage. But there isn't any additional extensive public improvements that would be required from them. Except, if there's the bus stop relocation, or if there's anything that comes up with the traffic study.
Understood. Okay, thanks, Rose.
Are there any environmental impacts that we should be aware of, like the projects that are down there by the rivers?
So as I mentioned, the Oak Springs Village Environment EIR that was produced for the specific plan addressed any and all environmental impacts that would occur as long as the project each individual specific project within the specific plan is consistent with the original approvals. So in this case it is, and they have been addressed.
Good.
I have one other question real quick on the traffic study. Obviously around McMurray Road, there's going to be a traffic study. Is it also going to take into account the 246 intersection?
Possibly, but it's only going to be as far as a contributing factor for this development, because they're just a small portion impacting it. Primarily, we want to look at circulation, mainly north and south with Valley Vineyard intersections and their entrance on site.
And the traffic study we did for the environmental document for the specific plan included traffic for this hotel at the size they're proposing. So that good or bad, the intersection is what it is, and it was determined it could be accommodate development of a hotel on this site. But again, the actual circulation is what we'll be looking at going in and out of the hotel and impacts on McMurray.
It's just we've learned a lot since the initial build, so with all those new apartments coming in and out.
And we're still working towards trying to get the property at the gas station to widen the intersection at McMurray, which is separate from this project and all the other projects.
Okay, well, we should still keep that in mind. Okay, Marcelo, you have any other questions? I'm good, you're good? Okay. Would the applicant like to say a few words? Sure. Great.
Oh, I'm putting his, he has his.
Oh, he has it, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, good evening. My name is Tom Jess with Eris Studio Architects. I'm representing the client for this project. This is a great opportunity for us to get your feedback, your input. I think it's been through a number of the departments in the city and outside consultants and gotten their feedback. And I think the project's going to be better as a result of that. So we're very open to having a discussion about the project. But that being said, this is a project that we're very proud of. It's something that we're excited to see coming forward. It's something that we're able to fit within the requirements of the specific plan and still get a project we like. So we're not coming in asking for any exceptions or parking reductions or height increases or density bonuses or anything like that. So we feel it's a win-win. I think the specific plan accommodated what our vision was, and our vision fits very well in that location. I don't have a little clicker to change. Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do is, I think Andrea did a great job of walking you through all the specifics, so I'm not going to reiterate what she did, but maybe I thought I'd just talk a little bit about the vision and what kind of drove the design to this point. And the site plan, the landscape plan, does a really good job of kind of illustrating that. If you can click one more, I just kind of walk you through the idea here. So the idea is, as you come in off of McMurray, there's a really pretty landscaped area there with some signage, directional signage telling you one hotel one way, one the other way, and also with some green trees coming over the top of it. And then the area between the hotels is kind of a passive pedestrian area. That's where the water feature is, which is the rocks up near the top of the screen with the stream coming down there. There's some sitting areas, kind of a more passive landscaped area there. And one of the items in the specific plan that kind of drove this was the idea of trying to make it pedestrian friendly within the site. So that's why the parking's located around the perimeter, so you don't have to cross a parking lot to go from hotel to hotel. We've went through a number of scenarios. We had a road going through the center, and we found that this worked out the best. So if you can click one more site, you can see this is much more the active area of the site here. So the idea would be that the meeting room, if the meeting room spilled out to an outdoor lawn area, there's a little event center there that we could have somebody playing an acoustic guitar and people hanging around and lounging. The bocce ball court, we kind of really see this as a gathering place near the back of the site in that area. Now each hotel does have its own pool area, but this is kind of the communal space between the hotels, and the guests can really utilize this space to get outdoors. If you can click one more. And you can see that the hotels themselves kind of focus out towards that back area. So the restaurant bar area of the hotel goes out that way, and then so this is the Cambria. And if you go one more here, you'll see we kind of carried that same architectural theme, the contemporary ranch character, to all four sides of the building. This is truly a four-sided building. There's no back side of the building. We've created the awnings on this side. This is going to be the west elevation, so it's going to get lots of light. The awnings are going to help cut down some of that and also create some shadow and some depth to the elevations, and then set back the top floor to kind of create a crown on the building, the top floor of the building there. And then this is what I was illustrating in the back. You can see the little venue area is right here that they could set up a little playing the guitar or singing and that type of stuff in that area, and then the lounges out on the lawn area. If you can click one more. And then the boutique hotel, which is on the other side, takes a similar approach with a restaurant, seating area, and the outdoor access from the lobby. You'll be able to see right out to that back area. And I think you can see that carries through. You can see the porte cochere. The architecture is a little bit different. The Cambria is a little bit more contemporary. It has a cantilevered porte cochere and some of those elements where this one has more of a heavy timbered porte cochere. But a lot of the same vocabulary. Similar stone, similar wood batten siding and distressed wood siding. And then the back, you can see here's the pool area. And then the barn or the meeting space is kind of accessory to both of those. And opens up onto that lawn area. I think if you click one more. And that's kind of about it. I didn't want to take a lot of time and reiterate a lot of what Andrea said, but we're more than happy to answer any questions you have. And once again, we're very excited about seeing this project move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you guys have any questions for the applicant?
Well, so my continued question on the boutique hotel part, is that restaurant bar planned to be public, or will it just be guests only?
I think like any hotel bar, they would love to have guests come in, but I don't know too many people that like to go to hotel bars and restaurants on a general basis. So the Cambria specifically, it's more of a breakfast area.
Right.
And they do serve drinks in the evening,
Right.
That type of thing. But the boutique would be almost exclusively for the hotel guests.
Oh, okay.
Just as a
You
point
might
of...
have some interest from the condos in the back.
We would love to. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, they're not going to turn anyone away, but it's going to be difficult to market because hotel bars.
And can I add one thing as well? As the Marriott is an example, they do not have any additional parking for their bar or their food area. So this would be similar to that. It's kind of, the parking calcs kind of take all that into effect because probably not going to have every room booked, so there's still flexibility. So it's similar to the situation at the Marriott.
Yeah, good point, Mark. Chris Atkinson, Pacific Property Partners, owner and developer of the project. Our intent, just to give a little bit of background to the project, further than what Tom had provided, we've done, this is our third Cambria that we're doing. We're doing one in downtown Los Angeles, one in downtown Long Beach, and then up here. Cambria's, the thing we like about Cambria is they're very flexible, kind of mid-level brand. I was speaking at a conference this morning down in LA, and I described it as being a kind of a 3-star hotel trying to dress up like a 5-star hotel. And it really is kind of what it's trying to be. It has a very minor food and beverage element to it, mostly really for guest services and comfort. And what we wanted to do here, our original plan was actually one bigger hotel. We wanted to obviously trying to maximize the opportunity as much as we possibly could. And we were thinking more along the lines of a perhaps 4-star type offering with one hotel. We laid that out. We played with it a lot. We had the full spa services. We had pool services. We had the food and beverage services up to a 4-star level. The problem was when we turned it over to our analysts that had originally actually done a study on the site, they said it absolutely wouldn't work from an economic standpoint and wouldn't be supported in their opinion, and we trust their opinion. So we backed away from that a little bit and said, well, maybe we could do something that's a little bit of a hybrid of that, something that offers a little bit of both, where we can do a limited service 3-star with flexibility like a Cambria does, and then also do something a little bigger than that, a little more special, a little more higher point from a price standpoint and an offering standpoint. So that's when we came up with the 2-hotel theory and concept, and then the boutique that is unbranded right now, and we're going through some decision making as to kind of where that's going to end up being in the future. But yeah, we want to make that a little more special. We want to make that a more special food and beverage opportunity. Yet we'd love to open it up to the public. We live here in the Valley. There aren't many hotel opportunities out there that do things like this, and that relates to the event center as well. Again, there's not too many places in the Valley here that have hotels that have wedding venues, proper wedding venues with good food and beverage facilities, corporate facilities where companies can come in, and whether it's their employees or executive staff, the executive staff can stay at the 4-star, the employees can stay at the 3-star, and they still got an event center that services both, the whole group. And that's kind of the thinking. We really wanted to make it more community-based. We really wanted to open it up to different price points for different types of guests. We did want to provide in the boutique a food and beverage offering that could be really special. And one of my partners, Vito here, comes from the food and beverage industry, and we've counseled a lot about, what could really work. And as we've seen here in the Valley, with things like Maddie's Tavern and what that's gone through, it does take some skill to really place what could work and what won't work and so forth. So we're really putting a lot of time and effort into that.
Great. Actually, Chris, I'm sorry, I should have asked you when you were still up there. I was curious. I see you want to have 2 different hotels, but what's the really intention to split the site into 2 different parcels?
2 different ownerships distinctly. The Cambria is a partner with us in the Cambria Hotel, which is unusual because usually brands don't partner from an equity standpoint. Yep. They are in this case, which is great because they obviously believe in the project and want to have skin in the game.
Sure.
The boutique is separately owned altogether.
Okay. And that goes back to a lot of the things the planning department mentioned about and making sure there's agreements, especially having equal meeting spaces and stuff like that. There's a lot of sharing.
And it gets even beyond that. I mean, it almost gets into not only the technical aspects of it, but usage of the event center and how that's going to work and management of that and so forth. Exactly. So we're thinking about all those things.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Any other questions, guys?
I do not have any
feedback.
No.
I think the only thing, and this is just a preference on my end, if you can go to slide A3, I think it was, on this deck. And I couldn't tell you how far away.
Let's see.
I think you gotta go up. This is the last sheet.
Okay. A 3.0 or?
It's not this one. It's one of the cross dimension.
What?
It's the one that shows the Cambria from the backside.
Okay.
I think you're looking at like the pool area. Not that one. That's the one.
Okay.
The only thing I'd say is the stone at the bottom and then the top with the light color is a little monochromatic for me personally.
That's true.
I like how the red kind of breaks it up at the top and it just seems kind of far away. And I love the wood paneling on the tower area. That's the only thing. I think the rest of the colors, the architecture, and the materials, there's not a material board here to actually to put my hands on, but based on what I'm seeing and what has been described, I think it looks fantastic. I think the breakup of different materials, and it really kind of goes with that contemporary ranch theme. I think looks pretty good. So that's it. That's just my preference. So that's the only other feedback I have. Okay. Well, it looks like that's pretty much the feedback that we are bringing to the table. I know this is a preliminary review, so there's not really a vote or anything like that at this point in time, but that would be basically sum it up for us.
Thank you.
It was a very good first complete submittal. So, the master sign program, things like that are things we always ask for afterwards, not on the initial submittal. But this was a very, very complete first submittal, so it helped our review and helped for the commission's review as well.
Absolutely. I was thinking the same exact thing as we were going through this past week. So thank you guys for putting together a great project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, written communications.
None, sir.
Okay, planning commissioner comments.
None at this point.
Planning director report.
I will let Andrea give you an update on some projects that are starting to move back through the pipeline.
So we have received Live Oak Lanes back in as a formal development plan modification submittal. So right now we're working with the applicant on some architectural design changes and things like that. But I'm hoping to have that back to you guys in July or August, so for public hearing. So we'll see how that goes. Taking a look at the plans, so at this point, and they're out for consult with all the different departments, so that'll be coming down the pipeline soon. And of course, with the hotel project, I probably anticipate that coming back in relatively soon as well. What else do we have? We have, I believe, the gas station project will be likely coming back in the next week or so.
Oh, wow.
So, in response to some of the incomplete letter items, so that'll come back to staff, and we'll take a look at their resubmittal and go from there. Let's see, what else do we have? We've got a lot going on. And then we have Rio Vista Chevrolet. We met with the owner of Rio Vista today, and sounds like they're going to be making some changes to the architecture and just some of the facades and upgrading and things like that. So we'll see what they come in with on that.
Okay.
So that was that. And then I'm not sure, I don't know if this has come up since the last time we met, but kind of next door to that, the Hitching Post is looking to upgrade their site, use the old Loring wine tasting room for their own wine tasting area, and also just upgrading some of the site pedestrian pathways, some more parking, things of that nature. So I think it'll be a good upgrade there as well.
Would those kind of things come in front of us, or are they?
So that would not, no. So that's just flat work and just site improvements. So it'll mostly just be dealt with over the counter through the planning department. So, yeah.
Perfect. Gonna be a busy summer.
And as you probably saw in my department reports, that we will be interviewing for planning director later this month, since I'm going to be shoving that responsibility off to somebody else in the near future.
All right.
For my, short-term goals of eventually retiring. So we want to get a planning director into place. So we'll be doing interviews on that. And if you can let me know if you're going to be around on July 5th or not, because it's the day after the 4th, and a lot of people will be gone. If we can know ahead of time if we don't have a quorum, then we know we won't schedule any projects on that particular meeting day. And Commissioner Heedy will be taking a short leave of absence until probably August, and I've notified you of that, and it's excused, so it's not a big deal, but he'll be out for a few meetings.
Of course. Okay. Do we expect to have a meeting in a couple weeks? I know you have a lot of things coming in, but maybe it needs to go review or.
So
TBD.
the only TBD, the only thing I could think of would be that, like I had mentioned, hopefully sometime in July we might have Live Oak Lanes, but that's TBD at this point.
But the
still.
June meeting, right now, I don't see anything
Nothing.
coming forward on the next meeting. So
Yeah.
we may not have that one.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, I think that's it. So let's go ahead and adjourn our planning commission meeting for June 7th at 7.